Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome back. Always a delight and an honor to have with us Gary Bauer, and boy, this guy is on top of a lot of things, and I always consider my time to be with him very special. And today we're having him back to talk about a variety of things. By the way, if you're not on Gary Bauer's email list, you're missing one of the best Washington of the Day summaries that's out there. And let me encourage you to get on that list. Gary, and how can we do that? By the way, good morning. How can we do that?
Good morning. Well, you can go to ouramericanvalues.org and find out a little bit about our group. And there's a place there where you can sign up with your email. And as you know, we try to give a little summary of the things happening in Washington that might affect your family, your business, or your values. And unfortunately, these days, that means there's a lot of negative stories, but we try to provide action items and things that people can do to fight back.
Well, thank you for what you do. Thank you for those emails. I find them to be very resourceful, especially for me when I talk about all the issues. I rely on you a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We get a lot of good feedback from it, although people do ask me every once in a while to try to throw in more good news, and I always tell them as soon as I get some, I'll put it in there. But as we know, if you believe in our type of values and the sanctity of life and importance of marriage between a man and a woman, if you want smaller government, lower taxes, a strong foreign policy, news isn't very good these days.
All right. American values. By the way, folks, let me encourage you, when you're on that website, support Gary and what he does. And I can't recommend that highly enough. What he does is a great work. And, you know, if the Lord leads you to support him, please do so, and do so generously. Well, Gary, I don't know where to start. Like you said, there's so many things, but what's your take on the foreign policy mess these days, and in particular what's happening in Iraq?
Well, you used the right word. I mean, mess is the best word one can come up with right now. We've got a bunch of problems. We've got Russia with a new aggressive stance in Europe. China's feeling its oats in the Pacific, beginning to put into the ocean a deep water navy, which is going to really present us with major challenges in the years ahead. And of course, in the Middle East, we've got Iran every day closer to nuclear weapons. And unfortunately, this explosion of Islamic radicalism, which we've been watching now for over a decade, appears to be gaining momentum in the Middle East. So on every battlefront, on every area of the world, we're facing tremendous challenges. What's happening in Iraq, in addition to everything else, is heartbreaking because, of course, we invested so much money, but more importantly, we invested the lives of our sons and our daughters in the Middle East generally, and in Iraq specifically. And I hesitate to say this, but I think we have to be truthful about it. The president's policies, his mishandling of this, is undermining a lot of what those brave young men and women did in order to secure a peace in Iraq. So we've got a huge problem on our hands.
Yeah, I guess we just have to see how. I know that Secretary of State's now meeting with the Kurds and trying to create some kind of a coalition, but boy, what a mess. And I guess we'll just have to give it a little more time, and then we can come back to it. It's just unbelievable. I want to take advantage of the time I have with you. What did you think of the IRS hearings the other night? Primetime TV.
It was. Look, I'm really glad we've got this new standard now about how long you have to keep information. The IRS always tells us, pitiful little taxpayers, that we've got to keep 7 years of our returns. And man, if we take a $10 deduction, we better have the receipt or the email or whatever it is. I couldn't help but notice the irony of an IRS commissioner coming in before these congressional hearings and saying, we lost the emails, big deal, and by the way, we threw away the computers too, and hard drives, what's that? So I would think that every American, regardless of party, would be pretty angry at this point. And as a matter of fact, you may have seen this. There's a new poll out this morning The president went on TV just a couple of days ago and said there's no scandal at IRS. There's not even a scintilla of evidence, he said, of anything happening there that we should be concerned about. Well, this new poll out this morning showed that only about 12% of the American people believe the official version that's being put out right now, that these emails were lost. Overwhelmingly, a majority of Republicans, a majority of independents, and even a majority of Democrats say, hey, this stinks to high heaven. There's definitely a scandal here, and we need to get to the bottom of it.
Wow. I don't. You think we will? I mean, what do we do with this? We can't seem to get anywhere with it.
Yeah, no, I share your frustration. I hear this all the time when I go outside of Washington. Look, it's difficult to get to the bottom of it when you have a government right now that's as corrupt as this government is. I mean, what we're experiencing right now makes previous corruption look like it's the little leagues. But I do think there's still tools available to get to the bottom of this, and I quite frankly think it would help a lot if we had a united Congress. Right now, we've got a House of Representatives in the hands of the Republicans, the Senate's in the hands of the Democrats, and Harry Reid is going to stop in any way he can any attempt to get to the bottom of it. So we'll see what happens this November, whether there's a change at the ballot box.
Let's switch over to Hillary Clinton. She seems to be self-imploding. Her book's not going anywhere. She's getting bad press. She can't pull any ratings. This has got to send her a message.
It does. Look, she remains the most popular Democrat out there, and if she gets the nomination for 2016, she'll be a formidable opponent. But on the other hand, she's making a lot of missteps. You probably saw in the last couple of days this interview that she did, and then she sort of dug the hole deeper. She said, well, look, me and Bill, we're not really wealthy, like some of the wealthy people out there are. They're worth over $100 million. I don't know about you, but I grew up in Kentucky, and you don't have to get to 100 million before you're considered wealthy. I think it's kind of funny to see one of these liberal Democrats who are so good at playing the class warfare game, right? When they're talking about conservatives, but she really had a straight face when she said that her and Bill didn't qualify for being wealthy. I think they do.
Well, you think we're just now coming to the realization that we got Clinton fatigue? We just had enough of all of this and them?
I do think there's Clinton fatigue. I think it's going to be really hard for the public, the average voter, to get excited about having another Clinton in the White House. And look, in the interest of being bipartisan about this, there are some folks on my side of the spectrum who think that Jeb Bush should run again, or should run from Florida to be the Republican nominee. And I know Jeb Bush. He's a really good guy. I mean, if it was an election between Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton, I'd vote for Jeb Bush. But really, is this the best we could do? Either another Clinton or another Bush? I would hope that when you look out around the country, there's a lot of really outstanding governors, people like Scott Walker in Wisconsin. My friend, Governor Mike Pence in Indiana. So I don't think Republicans have to go with another Bush, and I sure hope the Democrats don't try to give us another Clinton.
I just got this feeling it's going to mount up, and she's not going to go, but we'll see. One of the great scandals, I mean, they're all just crazy, but one of the most disgusting scandals of them all is the Veterans Administration. And this seems now to be somewhere lost in the headlines, but it is a huge scandal. And where do you think this will go? Anywhere?
Look, this is, of all the things going on, this is the one which drives me back to my doctor to get a stronger version of my blood pressure medication. I mean, the idea that our men and women in uniform have made these sacrifices and then they come back here and get treated like this by the Veterans Administration. And not only treated badly, but literally an intentional effort to deceive both those veterans and the public by lying about how long it takes to get an appointment. And I know you know this, but I think there's a lot of people that don't know it yet. People were getting bonuses at the Veterans Administration based on how timely the appointments were. So they were lying so they could line their pockets with taxpayer money in these bonuses. The other day, I heard somebody here in Washington, I can't remember if they were on Capitol Hill or at the Veterans Administration, say, well, look, these bonuses are going to stop. Stop. Look, they need anybody that got a bonus at the Veterans Administration because they were lying about how long it took for one of our veterans to get an appointment to come in and get medical treatment. In my view, they should be required to give that money back to the taxpayer and probably ought to be fired. That's what would happen to them if they were working in a corporation or in some other walk of life. If you tried to do that, if the average American lied about something at their place of business in order to get a bigger bonus, they would be out on the street in a heartbeat.
By the way, Gary, as you unfold this day, you're going to see we're doing exactly that in the state of Oregon for Cover Oregon. We're actually giving bonuses to people who work there doing nothing because the website is complete failure.
Unbelievable. You know, it's a wonder anybody goes into private sector employment, goes to law school to be a lawyer or goes to get a degree in economics so that they could go into finance or banking or whatever. I mean, obviously, what you ought to do is become a government employee, because it appears, certainly in Washington, that it's impossible to fire people for malfeasance.
Hey, a couple of quick questions. By the way, before I let you go, again, people who want to support you, what's the best way to do that?
They can go to ouramericanvalues.org.
All right, ouramericanvalues.org. And while you're there, sign up for Gary's daily email. Well, Gary, there's a couple of other things. The border mess, unbelievable. Do you think that this is being done deliberately so that all of a sudden we have a major humanitarian crisis on our hands and the only way to solve it is amnesty?
I've wondered about that, because in many ways, this crisis is actually hurting the president a great deal, because people have heard him say the federal government is responsible for securing the border. Well, why aren't they securing the border is the first question that comes to mind. But I do think you've touched on something really important here. I think there were people who felt that if the public saw this outrageous situation, that it would increase public pressure for what's called comprehensive immigration reform. And who could be against that, right? But those of us that have been sentenced to work in Washington know that what that actually means is some form of amnesty. And the public is not for an amnesty. I mean, we got a lot of illegal people in the country, and the idea that we should just make them all citizens, I don't think there's any public support.
You can talk to Eric Cantor about amnesty now, can't you?
Yeah, you better talk to him quickly, because he's going to be a private citizen pretty quickly.
All right, we had some primaries last night, and some of the old boys hung in there. Now, I think there's two things that come out of this. One is there's another reason why we should not have open primaries. And number two, as much as we want to see true conservatives win in some of these cases, don't you think their message ought to be better than, be more than I'm better than the other guy?
Well, look, if you're going to run for office, your message does need to be more than I'm better than the other guy. I think particularly now when so many families are hurting, there's a tremendous pessimism that's overtaken the American public. A great majority of our citizens now no longer believe that their children will have a better life financially and otherwise than they had. So we really need people to run for office that can give us a vision, not just criticize their opponent in the election. In addition to that, I have to admit, I don't know if depressed is the right word. I'm certainly disappointed that down in Mississippi, Senator Thad Corcoran managed to get reelected. in his primary against a strong conservative challenger. And the only way he was able to do it was they literally went out into Democrat households and got them, these Democrats, to vote in the Republican primary, which under circumstances is allowed in Mississippi. And the result of that is we've reelected a 76-year-old guy as senator down in Mississippi. I haven't heard his name for years. He does nothing to take on President Obama and some of the outrageous things that Obama does. But apparently we're stuck with him again.
Well, Gary, you're a delight, my friend. I'm honored to have you as a guest once in a while. Keep up the good work. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, go to ouramericanvalues.org, support Gary, and sign up for his email. Blessings to you, and our prayers remain with you and Carol, okay?
Same to you, and you keep up your great work. I'm proud to be on the same team with you.
All right, bud.